Antoine is 12 years old the first time he understands what desire feels like. Not the childish kind, not wanting a toy or wishing school would end early. This is something older and quieter and completely consuming. The kind of feeling that arrives without warning and then never fully leaves. He does not go to the barbershop for haircuts. He never needed the haircuts. He goes for Madame Schaefer, the woman who owns it, who moves through the small salon with a grace so natural it looks effortless, who smells of something warm and specific that Antoine cannot name but will spend the rest of his life trying to find again. The moment he steps through the door for the first time, the scent of hair products fills the air. But underneath all of it is hers. He sits in her chair and something settles into him like a fact about himself he did not know before. He watches her hands in the mirror. He watches the way she tilts her head when she concentrates. He watches the way the light catches her when she moves, and he thinks, with the absolute clarity that only children and people in love ever really have, that he has found something important. He goes back as often as he can. When his father asks one evening what he wants to be when he grows up, Antoine does not hesitate for even a second. He is going to marry a hairdresser. His father stares at him. His mother looks up from what she is doing. This is not the answer anyone in the room expected. His father pushes back, gently at first, then with more force. What kind of answer is that? What does that even mean? Think about what you're saying. Antoine holds his position with the stubborn certainty of someone who has already made up his mind and is simply waiting for the world to catch up. He locks himself in his room. His parents stand outside the door and negotiate. Eventually, they tell him he can do whatever he wants when he grows up. Antoine, sitting on the other side of the door, considers this a complete and total victory. He carries the dream forward the way children carry the things that matter most to them, quietly, completely, without apology, without explanation. He grows up. Life accumulates around him the way it does. School, friends, the particular texture of summer afternoons and winter mornings, the beach with his brother where their mother made them wear homemade shorts that he will joke about for decades. But the dream does not change, and it does not leave. It sits at the center of everything else, like a compass point. And then, one day, the news reaches him about Madame Schaefer. She has died by suicide. The woman who first showed him what beauty felt like, the woman whose hands in a mirror defined something in him before he had the language for it, is gone. Antoine is left with the image of her and a kind of loss that has no clean name. Not grief exactly. He was a child when he knew her, and she never knew him at all. But something real was taken from the world when she left it. And Antoine feels the absence the way you feel the absence of light when a lamp is switched off in a room you did not realize was dim until that moment. He will carry this loss quietly for the rest of his life. He will think of her in unexpected moments. Her death and her beauty will become intertwined in him in a way he never fully untangles.
He grows older. Then he walks into a salon and meets Matilda. Her shop is the kind of place people visit not entirely for the haircut. There is something about Matilda that draws people in, a quality that fills whatever space she occupies without effort or performance. She is simply herself, and that turns out to be enough to make people cross the street and change their routines and come back again on days they did not plan to come. She took over the salon a decade ago when the previous owner retired. He had trusted her completely, more than the other women who worked there. And when he left, he handed the whole thing to her without ceremony. The other women never forgave her for this. They did not confront her openly. They were simply cold in the specific way that people are cold when they have decided to punish someone for being chosen. Matilda runs the salon alone now, manages everything herself, does the work of several people without complaint, and goes home at the end of the day to an apartment that belongs only to her. She has been alone for long enough that she has stopped noticing it. Antoine sits in her chair for the first time and watches her work in the mirror. Her hands move the way he remembered Madame Schaefer's moving, with that particular confidence of someone who has done something so many times it has become its own kind of language. He watches the way she concentrates. He watches the tilt of her head. Something in him goes completely still and then starts moving in a direction he recognizes. He opens his mouth and says, out loud, to a woman he has known for approximately 8 minutes, that he wants to marry her. The salon goes quiet. Matilda's hands pause for just a fraction of a second and then continue, She does not respond. She finishes the haircut, Antoine pays, apologizes, and leaves with the particular embarrassment of someone who has said a true thing at the wrong moment and cannot decide whether to regret it. He sits outside her house that night, in the dark, watching the light in her window, wondering if she will even remember his face by morning. His father used to tell him that life is like a crossword puzzle. You never give up on it. You keep trying different angles until something fits. Antoine has carried this instruction faithfully through everything he has ever wanted. He carried it at 12 years old, sitting in Madame Schaefer's chair. He is carrying it now. 3 weeks pass. He goes back. He sits down. Matilda wraps the cape around his shoulders and begins cutting his hair as if she has never seen him before in her life. She does not reference the proposal. She does not reference anything. She works in silence, and Antoine sits in the chair and says nothing and watches her in the mirror and waits. When she finishes, she sets down the scissors, steps back, and looks at his reflection. Then she smiles, a small, private smile, the kind that belongs to someone who has been thinking about something for 3 weeks and has finally made her mind. She tells him she liked the proposal. She says she wants to marry him.
The boy who decided at 12 years old what he wanted has been waiting his entire life for this exact moment. It arrives quietly in a small salon, with no audience and no ceremony, on an otherwise ordinary afternoon. Antoine sits very still in the chair and feels the dream, the one he has carried since childhood, the one that outlasted everything, settle into reality around him, like it was always going to end up exactly here. They marry. The wedding is simple. Antoine knows that once the day ends and everyone goes home, Matilda will be his and he will be hers, and nothing in the world will be able to come between them. He holds on to this knowledge the way people hold on to things they are afraid of losing, tightly, quietly, with complete attention. They return to the salon. This is where their life happens, not in restaurants or at parties or in the wider world that continues outside the windows, in the salon, together, day after day, in the particular intimacy of a small space shared entirely by two people who have chosen each other. Antoine sits and watches Matilda work. He watches her hands move through hair with that same quiet confidence that first undone him. He watches her talk to customers, watches the specific way she listens, watches the way she moves around the chair with the ease of someone completely at home in her own skill. He never gets tired of watching her. This is not something he has to work at. It is simply true. Occasionally, the outside world pushes through the door anyway. One afternoon, a man walks in and sits silently in Matilda's chair without looking at anyone. Before she can even begin, his wife storms in behind him, crosses the floor in 4 steps, and slaps him across the face in front of the entire salon. Then she turns and walks out without a word to anyone. The man sits very still for a moment. Then he begins to speak, quietly, without drama, almost to himself. His wife is extraordinary, he says. She raises their children, she manages the house, she does everything that needs doing with a grace and beauty that he has perhaps not always adequately noticed. He says this the way people say things they only understand too late. Then he pays and leaves. Antoine and Matilda look at each other across the salon. They have glimpsed something through a window, and they both know it. They close the window and return to each other. A young mother brings in her small son for a haircut. The boy is terrified, from the scissors, from the strangers, from the chair, from all of it. He cries steadily, and Matilda cannot reach him. Antoine steps in without being asked. He begins to dance, not gracefully, with the complete and cheerful unself-consciousness of someone who was dancing to make a child laugh and does not care at all how he looks doing it. The boy stares. Then he laughs. The crisis passes. Later, after the mother and child have gone, Antoine sits with the image of the small boy, and something becomes clear between him and Matilda that neither of them has put into words before. They do not want children. They do not say this as a decision. It arrives as a recognition, the way certain truths do, already fully formed.
Antoine's reason is complicated in ways he doesn't entirely examine. He doesn't want pregnancy to change Matilda's body, doesn't want anything to alter the specific physical reality of the woman he loves. Matilda's reason is something else entirely. She is afraid that one day Antoine will stop loving her, that the feeling will change, and she will be left inside something that used to be love, and now just a shape.
Antoine looks at her and reassures her. She believes him. They continue building the life they are building. Small, complete, oriented entirely around each other, requiring very little from anywhere else. 10 years pass this way. In 10 years, they have one argument. It is about something trivial. Neither of them can fully remember the specifics of it afterward. It does not last long. They return to each other quickly and without drama, the way people return to the only place that feels like home. Matilda sometimes says that only death could separate them. She says it with a certainty that sounds like comfort. Antoine does not know yet that she means it differently than he hears it. The man whose wife slapped him comes back. He sits down and Antoine asks how life is going. The man says it is not going well. His wife has left him for good. His 3 children are constantly sick now. When their mother was there, they were never sick, not once. But now that she's gone, he cannot seem to keep them well no matter what he does. He says he simply wanted Antoine and Matilda to meet the children he loves so much. Then he goes. Antoine watches him leave and feels the fragility of things in a way he does not usually allow himself to feel. Antoine and Matilda visit her former boss in a nursing home. He sits in a clean room surrounded by other people and is completely, utterly alone. He tells them the world outside these walls is better than what he has here. He says it without self-pity, just as information. Antoine thinks about death on the drive home, the way he always thinks about death, tied to the memory of Madame Schaefer, tied to a kind of beauty that arrived and then disappeared before he understood what he was looking at. Then Matilda begins to feel something she does not know how to name. It starts as a shadow at the edge of things. Not unhappiness, she is not unhappy. Not distance, she is not distant from Antoine. It is something more specific and more frightening than either of those things. It is the awareness that happiness has a texture, and that texture can change. That what feels like permanence is actually just a very long moment. That one day she might wake up inside this life and feel the color of it differently, and there will be nothing either of them can do about it, because that is simply what time does to things. She carries this fear around the salon, and carries it home, and carries it to bed at night, and lies beside Antoine in the dark, feeling it settle over her like weather. She does not tell him. She does not know how to tell him without making it real in a way she cannot take back. What she knows, what she has always known, underneath everything, is that she would rather leave something beautiful than watch it become something ordinary. She would rather be remembered a certain way than risk being remembered differently. She has loved Antoine with everything she has, and she wants him to keep that love exactly as it is, preserved and whole, untouched by whatever time might do to it if she stays long enough to find out. One stormy night, she sits with Antoine in the quiet of their home. They do not do anything dramatic or notable. They simply exist together in the way they have always existed together, comfortably, warmly, completely. Then Matilda goes to sleep. Antoine wakes in the morning and she is gone. She has left a letter. She explains her decision in the letter with the same clarity she brought to everything she did. She chose to leave while the love was still everything she wanted it to be. She did not want to risk what might come after. She wanted Antoine to remember her this way, exactly this way, precisely this way. And she believed the only way to guarantee that was to leave before anything could change. She took only the good memories with her and left him the rest. It is, in its own devastating and completely sincere logic, an act of love, the most extreme possible attempt to protect something beautiful from the ordinary damage of time. She loved him so completely that she could not bear the thought of loving him less, and so she chose this instead. Antoine takes over the salon.
He opens it every morning the way Matilda opened it. He cuts hair and talks to customers and manages the appointments and keeps the space exactly as she kept it. He tells people he is happy because Matilda would have wanted him to be happy, and because happiness is the only tribute that makes sense for a woman who loved the way she loved. He dances sometimes, to the song she always loved, in the empty salon at the end of the day. And the dancing is both grief and celebration, and neither and both at once. But sometimes he turns toward the door. He turns toward the door because some part of him, the part that is not caught up to the fact of her absence, the part that still expects to hear her voice in the next room, is waiting for her to walk through it, waiting for the door to open and Matilda to come in with her scissors and her grace and her particular way of filling whatever space she stepped into. He knows she will not come. He has always known things completely and clearly and without flinching. He turns toward the door anyway. Antoine spent his whole life afraid of nothing. He moved toward what he wanted with the complete certainty of someone who decided very early that the dream was worth everything, worth embarrassment, worth waiting, worth years of patience. He locked himself in his room at 12 years old and held his ground, and eventually the world gave in and let him have what he was after. Matilda spent her whole life afraid of one specific thing, that the dream would end and she would have to keep living inside what remained. She loved him so much that the thought of loving him less was something she could not hold without breaking. They were both right about each other. They were both entirely wrong about what to do about it. And the love between them was real enough and full enough and complete enough that neither of those failures cancels the other out. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like and subscribe to Scene Scout for more.